Welcome, everybody. I'm going to call this March 9th, 2020 regular meeting of the Coolidge City Council to order. We'll start off with the invocation with Reverend Philip Stowell. And when the Reverend is done, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome, Reverend. Thank you.
Let us pray. Almighty and loving God, we humbly beseech you that we may always prove ourselves a people mindful of your favor and glad to do your will. We ask you to bless all of us here this evening, and especially the members of this city council. Grant to our elected officials the openness to discover new ideas and new ways of doing things, and the courage and will to pursue them. Give them knowledge and understanding, counsel and strength, that upholding what is right and following what is true, they may always have a care only for what will promote good government. Let us also give thanks for the dedication and commitment of all who have served this city before us and who serve us now, especially all first responders, members of our fire and police departments, healthcare professionals, city employees, and members of our military. Finally, help us to remember that we are all members one of another, and as such, we ask that you give us the strength and the wisdom to deal effectively and rationally with the coronavirus and all contagious diseases and those affected by them, so that we may contain and prevent the widespread death and devastation which these diseases have the potential of producing. Give us strength to do well the work you have given us to do, and for the good of all of which we ask in your name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you, Reverend. It's always a pleasure seeing you. Norma, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Jimmy Walker. Councilmember Tina Kaufman.
Here.
Councilmember Steve Hudson.
Here.
Mayor John Thompson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jackie Henry.
Here.
Councilmember Ben Navarro. And Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you, Norma. Looks like we don't have any presentations, so moving to call the public. As I look at the audience, many of you are veterans of the meetings. As you're aware of the call of the public, you have 3 minutes to come up to the podium, give your name and your address, and address the council if you desire. We don't generally answer. There's certain things we can save and many things we can't. If there's anyone here wanting to address the city council tonight, you have 3 minutes. Did Ralph sign up?
Yes.
Okay.
Honorable Mayor, my first speaker is Ralph Swain, under call to the public.
All right. Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you, council members. We all know that living in Arizona is a real joy, and many people that move here come primarily to a great extent because of the weather, the great weather. It's nice to be able to open the windows and or sit out in the patio and enjoy a barbecue and so forth. Of recent, in the past year, the air has improved when 2 of the closest dairy operations to Coolidge had to close down because people aren't purchasing milk like they had in the past. And before that, it was hit or miss whether you could keep the windows open or sit on the patio or have a barbecue. Sometimes it got pretty stinky. Once those dairies closed, it was amazing how quickly the air improved. But now we have another issue that's cropped up, and more people that live particularly Heartland Ranch, the McClellan Meadows, that whole environment area, which is close to the city sewage pond, are experiencing some pretty strong smells coming from the sewage pond. Now, I know previously the population of Sioux City was sufficient to be able to handle you might call it an enhanced aeration pond. I think we're getting at the point now where that's not sufficient. We've had quite a number of new homes built in the past year and a half, and D.R. Horton is planning at least 200 more homes in Heartland. That's going to continue to tax the sewage, that's the raw sewage coming into the aeration pond. The smell is only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Now, I spent a number of years in sewage treatment, so I'm somewhat familiar with the process of enhancing from an aeration pond into what is known as full sewage treatment. It's not cheap. You would have to add digesters, you'd have to add clarifying tanks, probably additional aeration beds and sludge beds to get rid of the dried sludge, and perhaps even chlorine infusion. You know, you're talking probably cost in the millions. Now, I'm not sure if the city has been thinking about this. I'm sure that you've probably looked at the possibility that an aeration pond as it is isn't going to handle this. But I think it's something that really needs to be looked at. And I see more people on the chat, Coolidge chat, and also Neighborhood Network complaining about it. And I live very close to the sewage treatment. I take treatment in quotes, the aeration pond, and noticed uptick in the smell. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ralph.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to say something. There have been some conversations about upgrading the sewage plant situation. One of them of which would involve selling it or having somebody else take it over other than the city that would have the money to upgrade it, but then they would control the rates. That would go in front of the Corporation Commission, and they would have control over the rates. The City Council wouldn't. So there are things being looked at, but there's nothing set in stone or anything else. So I'm just telling you that we haven't been sitting on our hands. We are looking at our options. But Matt's sitting right over there. He heard what you had to say, and we will be talking with him first, because if you used to do that, he did. That's part of what he does now. So, is there anybody else that wants to?
I'll meet with Ralph. We've had several conversations internally about different ideas and concepts. I'll meet with Mr. Swain about it.
Okay.
Okay, Ralph.
Is there anybody else that wants to address the council?
Yes, Honorable Mayor, we have Mrs. Ruth Ferris.
Okay.
Who?
Ruth Ferris, P-H-A-R-E-S.
Ruth Ferris, 2267 West Pinkley. Do I get time for, if I burst into tears, do I get an extra minute? Because this is going to be kind of sad. My husband and I moved to Coolidge September of 2010. And due to some health reasons and et cetera, we have decided that we're going to move to Nebraska. Yes, Nebraska. And so we have sold our home, and we're closing on the 18th. And I've already asked the officer if I could have a police escort out, and he said he would, because I've got a thing for men in uniforms. I just want to say this, and I've said this before a couple of years ago. I was raised in Metro Phoenix, so moving to Coolidge was like a culture shock. And it was even more shocking when I walked into Walmart the first week or so we were here, and there was a clerk there who looked like my husband's ex-wife, and I thought, oh my God, we're selling now. But luckily, it turned out not to be her. I just want to say this, that we have greatly enjoyed our time here in Coolidge. I've met some very great friends through Facebook. One of the ladies that is sitting next to me is someone that became a friend like 9 years ago. There's a couple of people on the 3 people on the council that, and back here that I know. I want to say that the people, the clerks, the staff at Walmart, Walgreens, Dollar Tree, the servers at Casa, I don't say it right, Casa Palomano, Tags, the Chinese restaurant, even Kentucky Fried Chicken, that they greet you when you come in. Dollar Tree, they go, hey Ruth, how you doing? And then guide me to try to buy something. This has been a great experience. I've met a lot of friends. I'm a very social person, so on Facebook I've met people, like I said, and I've managed to meet them in person. I also thank Dr. Amaya at Sun Life. He's been our doctor since we've been here and has given us great care. And I just want each of you to know that we're going to miss each of you, and I will keep track of you on Coolidge Chat. I don't think Amy Gonzalez or Tom Self, if he's still doing the other one, that they'll kick me off, but I'm going to keep track of each of you. And all I want to say is keep washing your hands. Walmart, get some more toilet paper, and God bless each of you, and thank you to our police department, our fire, everybody. My husband and I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you, Ruth.
We hate to see you go, but God bless you and good luck.
It's only 3,500 people there, and my son said in 8 months I'll know everybody. So I may be back if they may kick me out.
Well, I was going to say, if they kick you out, you always have a place to come. Mr. Lopez?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and public. My name is Gilbert Lopez. Besides my other duties as Economic Development Director, I'm also the Census Liaison. So I'd like to just take a moment. During Cotton Days just past this weekend, we had a census table in the park, and it was very successful. Parks and Rec lent us a prize wheel, so I want to thank Spectrum, Orrin and Ray Hankins. They donated 170 shirts that we gave away, most of them, and we still have a few left, but we gave most away. Carol Alejandres in our office donated water, along with Brittany Ashford, helped put labels on it that said be counted. Ernie Felice also stepped up and helped, so a lot of people stopped by, and we just want to acknowledge their help, and it was very successful. Also, just I want to share a few real important dates. March 12th is the beginning of self-response time. That's when it begins. They're going to send out a bunch of postcards and things with there's a code number on there for you to use if you want to go online and do that, but you don't have to have that code. You can go online and just use your address. They have a system in place. If somebody in the same household logs in and registers and somebody else does also, they'll be able to track that there's a repeat, so they'll be able to fix that. So not to worry, but everybody in the household is encouraged to please sign up. It's really important. Even if you're in a household, newborns, older individuals, people that are not family members can be counted. If they're in that house, count everybody. And so that's the message to the public. It's really important. It's worth, the census uses a number of 3,000 per person, and over a 10-year period, that's $30,000 per individual. That's overall money for everything. Counts money we get, money for the military, money for transportation, everything. So it's critical that everybody goes in and signs up. And Ruth, we love having you as a neighbor. If you want to be counted before the 12th is almost here, so you'll still be here. So please log on and all right. That's right. That's right. And so the actual census day that they're looking at is April 1st, 2020. But you can use phone, mail, online, all those methods. And then the last day to respond to the census is July 31st, 2020. In between the April 1st and July 31st, there'll be people going to people's houses that maybe don't respond, and that's where the census takers will come out and go to people's houses. So in order to, if you go online and you respond or do it the other way, nobody will come visit you. And it's all secure. So that's a really important message to the public. This information by law is required to be secure. Can't be shared with anybody for 72 years. And 72 years is when they just put out stats and information. And I think I asked where they got 72 years, and that's based on longevity when they started the census. So I think it would be higher now. But anyway, that's all I have, Mayor. I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you for your support as a person in charge of the census.
Is there a library date or library event coming up? Library event?
Oh, yes. Sorry, Mayor. On March 24th, Tuesday, all day long, the library is going to have an event called Be Counted from 8 to 6, and they'll have all the computers unlocked for people to participate in the census, and they have people from the census there if people need help logging on. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any other speakers unless there's someone else out in the audience.
Is there anyone else? All right, not seeing anybody approach, we will move out of call to the public and move into approval of minutes, discussion and action. Item 4, City Council regular meeting, February 10th, 2020. Item 5, City Council regular meeting, February 24th, 2020. If there are no corrections or comments, I would need a motion to act.
Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I make a motion we approve the minutes on February 10th and February 24th of 2020.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, we'll move into public hearings, item 6. To receive public comments on proposed amendments of section 506J and 904H of the City of Coolidge zoning code to remove lath and plaster and add green board from the list of acceptable perimeter stem wall materials for manufactured homes. Mr. Lopez?
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, this is a change that was requested by planning and zoning. It's really just a correction. We already allow this, but because it's in the Office of Manufactured Codes for manufactured homes, we have an agreement as a city with the Office of Manufactured Housing. But what this does basically is corrects a section of the code, as you read, that just removes lath and plaster, which nobody uses anymore, and replacing that with green board, which is pressure-treated lumber that's used around an actual ground set unit. And that's all that is, Mr. Mayor. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions up here? No?
And this is just the public hearing portion. The action item will be under regular business.
Okay. If there's nothing further, this is public hearing. Anybody in the public have any questions regarding this issue? Okay. That public hearing is closed. We'll move into public hearing item number 7. To receive public comments on a proposed amendment to section 603D of the City of Coolidge zoning code, removing swap meets and flea markets from the list of conditionally permitted uses in general services, C3 zoning district. Mr. Lopez?
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, this is just correcting something. We had it in both places. We had it as a condition, an allowed use under C3, and then we also had it as a conditional use. So obviously, we would allow it under the regular permitted uses of the zoning. So we had it in two places. We're just removing it from conditional use because we would never use that. And this was brought to my attention by Tim Hansen, who works with the zoning code very closely. So we're here just to correct that. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
So if you went by this, you'd have to go in front of P&Z to have a swap meet or a flea market? You wouldn't have to do that?
Correct. C3 would allow it as a permitted use, principally permitted, so it would have to follow all the regulations as far as it'd have to be a parking lot, like asphalt treated, it'd have to be. So there aren't that many places in the city right now that C3 that would allow that outright. But if you left it in as a conditional use, they would have to go to P&Z and do that. But it's already permitted. So the conditional use is an extra and
That's
beyond.
kind of what I was getting at. It would have been a lot more complicated than what
Yes,
they're doing now.
correct.
This is just clearing it up, making it easier.
Mayor, and it's already allowed.
Yeah.
So it's all we're doing is taking off the other
All
step.
right. Anybody have any, it's public hearing. Anybody in the public have any questions? Okay. Then if there's nothing further, we'll close that public hearing and we'll move into business items for consent. Does anybody want any of these items pulled off of here before I start? No? Okay. Item 8, consider approval of appointing Gussie Taylor and Juan Salas to the Transit Advisory Committee with a term ending January 1st, 2022, and approval to retract the reappointment of Valerie Woolridge. Item 9, consider approval of applying for the 2020-2021 OPSG grant funds from the Arizona Department of Homeland Security in the amount of $486,637 to be used for overtime, mileage, and equipment for Operation Stone Garden details. Item 10, consider approval of entering into a LexisNexis agreement between the City of Coolidge and LexisNexis for continued crash report management and distribution. There's nothing further on any of this. I'll need a motion.
Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion we approve consent agenda items 8, 9, and 10 as read.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. It's carried. Business under regular items. Item 11. Ordinance number 20-06. An ordinance of the City of Coolidge, Arizona, amending sections 506J7 and 904H7 of the zoning code to remove lath and plaster and add green board to acceptable perimeter stem wall materials.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, this is the action item for what we just heard earlier about the green board and then taking off lath and plaster. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
If there are no questions for Gilbert, then I'll need a motion.
Mayor, move to approve item number 11, ordinance number 20-06 as read.
I second it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Norma?
Councilmember Hudson?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaufman?
Yes.
Councilmember Murrieta?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 12, ordinance number 20-07, an ordinance of the City of Coolidge, Arizona, amending section 603D of the zoning code to remove swap meets, flea markets from the list of conditionally permitted uses.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, as stated before during the public hearing, this is just a correction, taking out something that was in there, but it's already a principally permitted use, so we're recommending that you take that and remove that from the zoning code.
Okay, if there are no questions from Mr. Lopez, and nobody has anything to add, then I would look for a motion.
Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I make a motion we approve ordinance number 2007 as read.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Norma?
Councilmember Murrieta?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaufman?
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 13, consider approval of the infrastructure and services plan for the PRI-16 annexation. Mr. Lopez?
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, this is a PR annexation. There's 3 of them, and Tim Hansen's putting that up on the board so you can see where they are. If you recall, I think the last meeting before, we had 3 also that were coming up. A lot of the land for PRI, which is the landholding portion of the LDS Church, is already in the city. This is adding about 1,000 acres back into the city, and we already have about half a farm in the city. So this is all farmland, a few houses here and there, but they're part of the the church land. Chris Webb is, I don't know if Chris is here, he represents Summit Land. He's the applicant and has been working with Tim and predominantly and myself to bring this in. And so what this is here, and so what I'll do is I'll be able to go through each of these. There's 3 of them. This is the infrastructure and services plan. As you're aware, in order for us to annex some property in, we have to have a plan on what we're going to do and how we're going to provide services to these properties. So the plan is in your packet. And in this case, because it's the PR I-16, which is a small one over here on that part right there. Right? Yeah, PR I-16. So that one, there's no additional roads. Valley Farms Road was already annexed in the city, correct, Tim? When we see all the blue-purple area there. So that one won't take any additional road in. It's already in the city. So that's a small piece. It's about 16 acres, more or less. And so all this is a plan, and then the next item will be the ordinance to annex property, if you so choose. And just to give you a little information, the city currently grades over 74 miles of roads every 6 weeks using 2 or 3 staff. So they're very efficient, and they get it done. And we just wanted to bring that to your attention. I'll answer any questions you may have on this plan.
Well, I don't know that I have too many questions. Mr. Lopez, I know that
We took 36, then
the annexations we're considering now are people that have asked to come into the city limits.
Yes.
We didn't go out and solicit business.
Yes, Mayor. These are requests from them to come into the city.
And there are no objections from, we posted them. I know Tim goes out and posts them, and nobody called to object to it.
Mayor, that's correct. I think usually if we get any calls, it'll be just informational, want to know what's going on, but we haven't gotten any that I'm aware of.
And I've heard a few comments, and I've had some discussions with individuals that seem to think that there's, when you read through these reports that you provide us, they all contain portion of this report addresses paved roads or no roads or dirt roads that are involved in these annexations. The majority of these annexations, if they have any roads at all, they're dirt roads. And usually, more often than not, there's nobody even living there, and there were no police actions or no fires in the last year on any of these.
Correct, Mayor. These are agricultural fields.
And I'm just for the good of the public, because people are always asking me, my road isn't paved on Central Avenue or Pinkley. How come we can annex these in? Well, these aren't taking away from, these annexations aren't taking away from those. And I'm going to ask Matt, even though he works for Rick, he doesn't work for me. I'll ask Matt and Rick, but Rick's busy talking, to have a presentation on the roads to let him know what our work, so people can see on the channel, our TV channel, that we are planning on doing the roads here, and we have done a lot of the roads here, and we will continue to do the local roads, and the roads will get fixed, and these don't have anything to do with that. So I just want people to know that. And so there's no mistake about, if there's roads associated with these, they're mainly dirt roads. Once in a while you get a little piece of pavement. I think one of them had about a half mile of paved road. And that was it. Out of all the ones that we're looking at, I think one of them had a half mile. So that's the situation. The services provided to them are very, very slim for our public safety personnel and for those type of things. So.
And Mayor, from an economic development standpoint, it helps us because this property will be in the city limits. So if a development comes up, that we're, during the course of the time, they'll be able to tell the company they're working with they're within the city limits. So that helps because of the services. And so while there's farm fields right now, in the near future, there may be other things that are being proposed that we'll come back to you with. And that's why it's important to have these in the city.
Okay, thank you, sir. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, no? All right, if we don't, then I need some type of action.
Mayor, there's no further discussion. I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance number 20-08.
This is the Infrastructure Services Plan, number 13. It's the next one. We have to take these separate. Councilmember Hudson.
Oh, discussion action.
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 13.
Second.
All right, motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. All right. Item 14, ordinance number 20-08, an ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, extending and increasing the corporate limits of the city of Coolidge, Pinal County, state of Arizona, pursuant to the provisions of Title IX, Chapter 4, Article 7, Arizona Revised Statutes and amendments thereto by annexing thereto certain territory contiguous to the existing city limits of the city of Coolidge, consisting of 15.3 acres, more or less, and located within Section 28, Township 5 South, Range 9 East of the Gila and Salt River Basin Meridian, Pinal County, known as the PRI 16 annexation, and authorizing initial zoning of agriculture for said territory. Mr. Lopez.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, this is the actual ordinance that brings the property in. A blank annexation was actually at Pinal County was actually registered, and then also a public hearing was held January 27th, 2020, and the actual petition was signed, was actually sent to the county February 20th of 2020. So it's followed all the regulations as far as annexations. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay, I think we've already heard about this. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, it doesn't look like we do. I need a motion to act.
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
To approve ordinance number 20-08 is read.
is there a second?
Second. Okay.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, Norma.
Councilmember Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Murrieta,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Henry,
Yes.
and Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 15, consider approval of the infrastructure and services plan for the PRI-97 annexation.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, again, this is the Infrastructure Services Plan. PRI 97 is up on top here, Vaca Inn, and I believe that's Clemens. So that's that rectangular looking piece right there. And so we'll have 760 feet of Vaca Inn to take care of, and that's paved, and half a mile of Clemens Road that's being taken into the city. And so I'll answer any questions you may have on this. This is the plan of how we'll address the property.
Mr. Lopez, do we take the whole, both lanes of that road, or do you just take half of it?
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, we're required by state law to take all of it.
Did that change? I mean, Tim, because I remember when you were sitting in that chair down there, or maybe this one, I don't remember, when we did Signal Peak, or was that when we were in the old building? We only got half of it because the other half was on the reservation.
Mayor Thompson, that's correct. And there are cases where some other cities have only annexed half, which I think the law may have changed. I'm not sure when it was. They were always required, I think, to take it all, but some have not. But we follow the law, so we take it all in.
Okay, so we got to take the whole road, Tim. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just want to make sure. All right. Is there any questions? You guys have any questions? No? All right, if there's nothing further, then I need a motion to act.
Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I make a motion we approve item number 15 is read.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll move to 16. Ordinance number 20-09. An ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, extending and increasing the corporate limits of the city of Coolidge, Pinal County, state of Arizona, pursuant to the provisions of Title IX, Chapter 4, Article 7, Arizona Revised Statutes and amendments thereto, by annexing thereto certain territory contiguous to the existing city limits of the city of Coolidge, consisting of 97.3 acres, more or less, and located within sections 17, 18, 19, and 20, Township 5 South, Range 9 East of the Gila and Salt River Basin Meridian, Pinal County, known as the PRI-97 annexation, and authorizing initial zoning of agricultural for said territory. Mr. Lopez.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, this is the actual ordinance bringing in the 93.3 acres into the city. And again, we followed all the public hearing requirements, and the petitions were all registered to where it's supposed to be. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay. If there's no questions, then I need a motion to act.
Mayor, move to approve item number 16, ordinance number 20-09 as read.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second.
Vice Mayor Henry,
Yes.
Councilmember Murieta,
Yes.
Councilmember Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
and Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 17, consider approval of the infrastructure and services plan for the PRI-315 annexation. Mr. Lopez.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, this is the infrastructure services plan for PRI 315, which is on the bottom of the screen. And as far as roads, we'll take in half mile of Clemens on this one. And again, it's all agriculture. And this is the next item would be the ordinance bringing it into the city.
Does anybody have any questions? No. Okay, if there's no questions, I need a motion to act.
Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I make a motion that we approve item 17 as read.
I need a second.
I can second that.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Item 18, ordinance number 20-10, an ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, extending and increasing the corporate limits of the city of Coolidge, Pinal County, state of Arizona, pursuant to the provisions of Title IX, Chapter 4, Article 7, Arizona Revised Statutes and amendments thereto, by annexing thereto certain territory contiguous to the existing city limits of the city of Coolidge, consisting of 315.3 acres, more or less, and located within sections 31 and 32, Township 5 South, Range 9 East of the Gila and Salt River Basin Meridian, Pinal County, known as the PRI-315 annexation, and authorizing initial zoning of agricultural for said territory. Mr. Lopez.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, this is the ordinance annexing the 315.3 acres. As mentioned, the blank annexations were recorded. Public hearing was held January 27th, and also the signed annexation petitions were recorded with Pinal County the way they're supposed to be properly done. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Okay, if there's no questions, then I need somebody to make a motion to act.
Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I make a motion we approve ordinance number 20-10 as read.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Norma?
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilmember Murieta,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Henry,
Yes.
and Mayor Thompson.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Item 19, consider approval of entering into a cooperative purchasing agreement between the City of Coolidge and Wright Geotechnical of Arizona LLC, doing business as Alta Arizona, for the purpose of providing engineering services to provide updates to the landfill closure plan. Good evening, Matt.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the council. This is to follow up on the information on the item that was tabled the previous meeting. And since then, we've received additional information from ADEQ, which I distributed to you through an email for the benefit of the members of the general public. We reached out to ADEQ and got a list of governmental entities who had gone through a landfill closure plan similar to ours. We heard back. We reached out to them. Pima County was the one that responded to us. They had a Tangerine landfill that was 57 acres that they had their landfill closure plan was prepared for a cost of $300,000. They also have another one that's going on right now is the Ina Road landfill closure that's 79 acres, and that one is at a cost of $331,000. A lot of those same elements that they have in their landfill closure plans are also included with ours. Our landfill is 17 acres. And as a reminder, we had the cost for that came in at just under $45,000 from Alta, Arizona.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. Does anybody have any questions for Matt?
The only question I have, Matt, is I know that we're getting a lot of clean fill dirt. There's a gentleman that's going to be building something probably in the next couple of months, and he's going to have some clean fill dirt he needs to get rid of. Could he also dump it out there to help out, or?
It's possible. He actually came out to speak with me in my office about that. It's the car wash that he's looking at putting in. We don't have any objection to that, provided it meets all of the requirements that we have from ADEQ from that.
He asked me, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
You'd have to get it tested, right?
Or some certification saying that there hasn't been any contamination. Arizona Water provided that certification to us when they allowed us access to the filter from their recharge basins.
Okay. As long as you've already talked to him, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Fitzgibbons, I've read through everything they provided. I've read through the plans and what Pima County's paying for what they're getting, and the 9 points that they gave us, and the actual application and everything. And it looks to me like the background information provided. This isn't a bad proposal, and it looks like when you read through all the information, it looks like it's probably necessary that we go through with this. If we want to adopt, or if we want to approve what was on the last agenda with this organization, what do we have to do? Can we do it tonight, or do we have to put it back on the agenda for next time and do it then?
It's on there.
It's on tonight.
So it is on
Yeah,
tonight,
Mr. Mayor,
later on?
it's on in the agreement.
Okay,
So we just renoticed the whole thing
okay,
for the council. So if council's ready to move forward,
all right.
the agenda's ready.
Okay, yeah, because when you look at what Pima County's paying, although they've got a lot more, but there's a lot more to this than anybody ever mentioned. And when you look at their staff, and you look at what all is involved with this, and the actual process, which nobody told us what the process was, there's a lot involved with this. So I'm ready to move forward if you guys are.
I am.
Tatiana. Okay, then I'd like to.
No further discussion. I make a motion we approve agenda item 19 as read.
Is there a second?
Second.
You guys are slow.
Well, I was
guys
trying
all
to,
awake, or-
no, I was trying to give everybody else a chance, you know?
All right, there's motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, now this one ought to be pretty interesting. Consider approval of adopting a water tower lighting policy for the city of Coolidge.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I think we reported previously that we've been looking at the policy for council's consideration to be used for requests for the water tower lighting. As we looked at the town of Gilbert, we used their model for a water tower lighting policy. I think we excluded, though, from their policy, I think they only allow nonprofits. I think we excluded nonprofits from their policy, and as we brought it over into our policy. So we feel that maybe if you're not a nonprofit, but you think that you have an absolute great reason to offer some input on how the water should be lighted, we took that section out of it. The policy, though, we believe is necessary. Obviously, there aren't enough days in the years to handle everybody's requests. We think we'll probably have more requests than just the holidays that we would like to typically observe, or the special events or other national recognition days. This policy basically has some criteria and terms of application. There'd be an application. As you can see in your staff report, the application basically spells out the different criteria. An approved application request should be limited to up to 3 days, a maximum time period for the lighting to occur. The lighting request should be granted on a first-come, first-served basis. There's no automatic annual agreement renewal, and past lighting participants will be required to apply each year to be considered. The applicant or a contact on the original submitted application will receive written notification stating the application has either been approved or denied, sent via an email within 15 days of the application being received by the city. The City of Coolidge is under no obligation to provide specific feedback to any individual or organization regarding the status, merit, and/or denial of its application. Approved lightings may be rescheduled due to priority requests of the City of Coolidge. If there's something that comes up that we feel may be a priority, somebody else's lighting request might get bumped. The City of Coolidge will maintain traditional lightings for the following dates: February 14th, March 17th, November the 11th, July 4th, May 28th, September 3rd, September 11th, October 31st, and November 22nd. Only one request application per organization will be accepted within a 12-month period. And the city manager or his or her designee may select colors on any day that a lighting request is not made. We've been trying to, provide some lighting up there on days that maybe a lighting request isn't made. If the council would prefer on those days to just leave it white, we can do that. But a lot of people seem to like the color and have complimented the city on the different creative colors we put up from time to time. One thing I've been doing, for instance, on Fridays, remembering everyone deployed, we've been putting it up as red to remember everyone deployed. If somebody has a special request, though, on a Friday, obviously we would, not do red that Friday if somebody else had a special request that was approved. Let's see here. Application will only be considered if the request falls within one of the following categories: an extraordinary event or occurrence of the city, state, national, or international significance. The organization request for recognition of an awareness initiative, or the City of Coolidge initiatives and selected holidays. And we will not consider requests for the following. Will not consider lighting requests for advertisement or commercial promotions, for personal or any one individual's celebration or memorial, or for groups that discriminate against age, disability, race, religion, gender, or sexual orientation. Those would be the restrictions. And then a very simple one-page application. And Mayor and Council, I'm prepared to answer any questions, or if you want to make some revisions, let me know. But I think I found it pretty important that we have some kind of a policy in place because it's been a little bit difficult. I don't want to get into a catch-22, making people upset. I think we really need to get a formal process here. It's been a very, very popular tower. This lighting has united the community. I've not heard too many negatives, but it's just been really a pleasure to see the community outpouring of support for what we've done here.
I think Councilmember Marietta has something to say. I would say from our very first meeting when we sat down with the town of Gilbert to discuss this matter, that was the very first thing that they told us was get a policy because you're going to need it. And I think they're right. I know you were...
I do think that a policy is needed, absolutely. I just had two questions, I guess. So the term organization is all over it. But I see that so far we have actually accepted family requests. So do we want to leave it as organization, or do we want to do like /family?
I think if you look at the prohibited request, we really don't want to have a memorial for a family or an individual. It really needs to be an organization. We're going to get away from family requests.
Okay.
And I think
Rick has been violating the policy that
We haven't had a
not
policy.
implementing
We haven't had a
because
policy.
we didn't have one.
And then, what are some of these traditional dates?
That's a good
It's
point.
a good point.
I don't know what May
They'll be
28th is, or September 3rd, or
They'll be
September
updated
11th.
every year. I think
or
we're
September
just
11th.
we're trying to get to Memorial Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving. So the
9/11.
policy will be updated every year with regard to those dates. I mean, obviously, Valentine's Day, March 17th, of course. That's a no-brainer.
Is that St. Patrick's?
That's a no-brainer.
We're going to take
And
that
then,
one out.
November 11th,
lower
Veterans
your
Day,
rates.
July 4th. But we're just trying to get those dates. You're right, this policy will need to be updated with this year's dates as it relates to Labor Day, Memorial Day.
Or why don't we just
say-
put the
spell-
holiday,
we spell it
so
the
that
We
way
could do
as
that.
it
Yeah,
changes.
we could do it that way.
And then the other request,
Then you, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Councilmember Marietta, if you want to just make that modification to the policy, if you're going to move to approve with that modification, we can do that. Like Memorial Day, Labor Day,
Major holiday.
major holidays, like March 17th.
I agree. Even though I'm not Irish, but I love corned beef and cabbage.
It's really Thanksgiving.
well, I
What
did
about
only
Christmas?
because, I worked with policy for so long. I always try to stay away from a specific staff member's name, only because you never know if they're gonna change to a different role. And so, I just wonder, like, do we wanna leave the certain person's name on there with that email, or can we make a generic email and put that down as, just in case roles change? And then we don't have to go back and update the policy or the form.
I think you're talking about the form itself, but
Correct. the
right now, they need to
application
know who
itself.
to send it to, and you usually have to send it to a specific email address, so.
Yeah, we couldn't make a generic email address.
In Gilbert,
I know we've done that several
they
times.
send it to a certain person in Gilbert.
And we may, I think maybe, again, the council, I don't know if we could probably change that on the form if that person changes, don't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we just change it on the form.
What we can do too is if that individual leaves, those emails can go to the director or supervisor. So in this case, because of the individual that's listed, if she was to up and leave, those emails would be forwarded to myself. So at least we could change it, or I would still continue to get them.
I think things like that would change without coming back to council.
Okay.
I just would like Rick to cover again what started all the whole process, and talk about that there is no, the funds that were received for the lighting didn't come out of the city.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd
Thank
be
you.
happy to explain that again. Obviously, we thought about lighting this tower 4 or 5 years ago, and the cost was pretty high because, the first thing you really need to do before you light a tower is paint the tower to make it, to give it the effect that it needed. And to paint that tower is extremely expensive. 4 or 5 years ago, the Arizona Water Company wasn't in a position to paint the water tower. They came to us, or they approached us recently, said as part of their regularly scheduled maintenance, it was due for a painting, and they asked us if we wanted it painted to give the best effect with lighting, if we're going to light it, what color would that be? And we went and visited with the town of Gilbert. They gave us the paint colors, shared with us what the lighting proposal was, and how they went about doing their lighting. The company that Arizona Water Company used to paint the tower said that they could absolutely install all the electrical conduit and the lighting on the tower. Very capable company of for doing that. So the water company basically hired Revolution to paint the tower, install the lighting. Our commitment to the water company is we'd find some way to fund it. The lighting, as I mentioned before, the estimate that Revolution gave was $67,775. That's to put all the conduit and electricity up there. The light fixtures are not inexpensive. They're LED. They have 70,000 hours of life typically on these lamps, so they last a long time. And so I sent out a text, or actually an email, invited a lot of my acquaintances over the years, to the Friends of the Water Tower, to submit contributions and donations to our tower lighting project. And within 2 months, we had about a little over $50,000 in donations. So we're a little bit short of the $67,775. So I think the mayor and council, the property that we acquired through a donation from an individual south of the fairgrounds a few years back, individual gave us that property. this solar company that actually made a big contribution to the tower is building a large-scale solar project entirely around that property that we received for free. We basically went out to got a request for proposals or bids. That company was the only one bid on that piece of land, and they gave us $20,000 for that piece of land that we got for free, which covered the rest of the lighting expense. So not 1 cent of taxpayers' money, tax dollars went to this. When you factor in the contribution we got from the donors, as well as the land that we got for free that we ended up selling for $20,000.
And so actually, who actually owns the lights?
The city of Coolidge owns the lights. We will be, in fact, we're waiting on the agreement to come back right now. We will be entering into a memorandum of understanding with the Arizona Water Company on that we own the lights, we maintain the lights. They pay the electric bill. It's all tied to their meter over there. They provide a tower for us to put the lights on. So there'll be an agreement with the water company that sets that all up, and the structure of that all up. These lights should last 15, 20 years without having to be replaced.
Thank you. I've just had some people ask, and I just wanted you to clarify all that.
There are a few things that are not completed on the water tower. We have not actually sent our money to we're going to be paying the water company. They'll pay the contractor. We're going to provide our money to the Arizona Water Company as reimbursement to the water company. But the contractor still has LED strip lighting to come down the fill pipe down the middle. And they've got a light. When they first installed it, there was one light that has a little discoloration to it, kind of as a purple hue on the northeast side of the tower. So they'll be replacing that light fixture. Many of these light fixtures have a warranty period to them, so we do have a little bit more work to do to enhance the lighting up there.
Thank you.
You guys, okay, have anything?
If there is no further discussion, I move to approve item number 20 with changing specific dates to the specific holidays.
Right, and those would be Memorial Day, Labor Day, and Thanksgiving.
Well, I think all of them should be listed. Instead of doing February 14th, it should be Valentine's Day. Just all of them
You
should
don't
be.
think that's Statehood Day?
That's Statehood
Oh,
Day.
Statehood Day.
Wow.
It is Statehood Day. Well, then do with that whatever you want to do it. Well,
Which
is
one
that
do
what
you
you
want?
would do?
Which one
March
do you want to
17th?
celebrate? Whatever council wants to celebrate, Valentine's Day or Statehood Day. That's why we didn't put that one on.
Yeah, I mean, Statehood Day. And then would you do it the Arizona flag colors, or would you do it?
We could do it the Arizona flag colors on that day.
Yeah.
It's a very popular look.
Yeah, I think we need to make sure, I mean, in my opinion, I think if that's what we're gonna do, then we need to make sure we stick with the Arizona State flag colors and not red and pink.
Yep, we can do that.
It's fine with me. We live in Arizona.
So each date will be set forth then, and is, Vice Mayor, that's your motion then, February 14th, and all the dates will be set forth by name? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we'll make that change.
And, well, I guess, so then I kind of feel like, how do you have, what's October 31st? Because I saw that listed.
Halloween.
So how do you pick and choose which holidays to set it for then?
I think one of the things that this policy allows us to do is to look at, I think the organizations can request certain colors. I expect that we'd have, for instance, breast cancer awareness. And we'd do that month, or, there's lots of people requesting the colors for cancer survivor victims and other things like that. Orange for the veterans who worry about, the victims of that have an Agent Orange. And I think Gilbert does theirs. They haven't listed all of their holidays, but the city can entertain those kind of requests to put up those additional colors for other awareness.
So we're just picking October 31st as the date to pick whichever awareness the city chooses to do. Is that what I'm hearing?
With regard to Halloween?
Well, no, I'm just, so So that's my question is, if we don't have all the holidays listed here, so how do we pick and choose which holidays we're
Well, I think
gonna?
we're trying to use, for the most part, secular holidays that are somewhat recognized. So that's all we're putting in the policy.
We modeled ours after Gilbert, and they, we could probably expand it if you'd like.
Well, there's 300,000 people there, and it works for them.
Yeah.
I think we'll be okay. We can do whatever we want to do.
So Vice Mayor has a motion modifying the policy to identify the specific date, name of the days, rather than just the number of days, which we can do. So we need a second to that motion.
I'll second that.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, it'll work. Okay.
Did you vote?
No, we didn't vote
voted?
yet. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Ayes have it. And if we find that this doesn't work, we can bring it back and
Add some more.
add
delete
some more to
some.
it, do whatever you want.
So on
I noticed
Turkey Day,
that
you got
too.
a turkey
Yeah,
running
I
around.
was just ready to ask you, is what I thought.
Mr. Mayor, when we have the Coolidge Bears playing the Florence Gophers, we're going to have a
Yeah,
Coolidge
like,
Bear
you don't
chasing
put
the
red and
Gopher.
white on that, Miller.
We won't put red and white up there.
No red and white.
Yeah, I was surprised by that, too.
I was just there,
I would
like
think-
the week after Christmas and
Okay.
lit up red and green.
Oh, I think they
Now we'll
do
move
do it
into
every
report
year. Everybody does.
from the
They just
mayor,
don't
council, and
acknowledge
city
it.
manager.
They won't acknowledge it.
I don't have anything to report other than that I actually heard compliments on the water tower today from some of my folks. They're like, you can see that thing forever and it looks really awesome and it's nice to see that, that focus is there for Coolidge. So, good job.
Nothing to add, sir.
I don't have anything.
I always hear things about the tower from people from other cities also. I and a few others attended the Cesar Chavez fundraiser dinner on Friday, and then we had Cotton Days and the quilt show, and I think they had some really good music at the park. So anyway, it was a good weekend here in Coolidge.
So I didn't win the quilt.
And I'm so sorry that none of us won the quilt. I tried.
You knew you weren't going to win this, too.
I knew it.
I wasn't going to win either.
I know.
I told him I wasn't selling anymore.
Attended the fly-in. There's quite a few planes there, but more people attending for the breakfast. And the Cotton Days just was a wonderful event. Enjoyed it. The car show turned out really well. Also went to the PETA patio the other night. They had a drive-in with classic cars and just really enjoyed that. A lot of great things to do in Coolidge and getting more and more all the time. That's it, Mayor.
Okay. Well, it was a pretty busy 2 weeks. I attended the Pinal Partnership Breakfast and watched our governor make a speech about everything he's accomplished, which has been quite a bit. He did say he was going to replace the bridge between Casa Grande and Chandler on the I-10, but when they asked him if he was going to replace or add on to or replace the actual freeway, he said his response was, well, we're going to Washington and see what's going to happen. So that wasn't a definite, didn't sound like a yes to me. It just sounded like we're going to Washington and see what's going to happen. So the bridge will be replaced. I did get over to the Cabot stakeholder meeting. What that is Cabot has an A+ rating right now. And they have a panel that comes in, and the stakeholders, people in the community go in and they ask you questions and you testify on to why you think Cabot should maintain their A+ rating. And there was a number of us in there that testified. We won't know for a while if they maintain their rating, but I did do that. Obviously, I did attend the quilt show a couple of times, as a matter of fact, but they did go ahead and do a Mayor's Choice Award. So they really put me on the spot. I'm sure it cost me some votes, but I did pick one of the Mayor's Choice quilt. So I'm sure I'll hear about that. But they were very nice quilts. There was a bunch of them, and they were a lot better this year than in previous years. I thought they were really colorful, and they really popped. They were nice. Went to the fly-in. They ran out of food. I heard how bad the road was, but fortunately it's a county road, so I'm going to complain to my supervisor. I read to the students at Heartland Ranch, and I attended the Cesar Chavez dinner with Councilmember Murrieta, the Vice Mayor, and Councilmember Navarro, who's in St. Louis as we speak. So it was a good dinner. We did have a couple of Coolidge students that got scholarships. Finally, they're putting in for it, and they're getting them. And I was proud of them. They were there with their mothers, and it was nice seeing some Coolidge kids get some money to go to college. So thank you all for coming. We appreciate everything you do for the city. We hate to lose good citizens, especially in Nebraska. I mean, come on. Oh my gosh. Well, don't tell Red Fitzgibbons. But anyway, I need a motion to get out of here. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much.